Hi, Dr. BL. This is my interview that I have did with a previous teacher about social studies. So we talked about a variety of different topics, and I just like one of the things I said, what is the point? What's the reason of social studies education in your mind? And she said to help students make an informed and reasoned decision about things in life, in society, to be a member of society. And some other things we talked about, I said, I asked her, how do you approach social studies? And she said, there's no one way to do it. Every teacher has their own unique way of doing it. And so she uses a variety of different things, secondary sources, primary sources. They use textbooks, handouts. They learn about it and kind of like little plays, little things like that, to help engage their critical thinking skills. Not just, here, read this, study, learn it, write definitions, things like that. She said some of the ways that she engages students in social studies education was that she used question and answer sessions. Like I said, they like learned about people, and then they kind of did like little plays to help learn it, and it made it fun and exciting for them, and the kids loved it. The students loved it. They thought it was so boring before because it's like, oh, what do I need to know about this old president who died long ago? Why do I need to learn about this boring Cold War? But it made it important that they visited museums and learned about things in their own history and culture. I asked, do you think that your school takes social studies education seriously? The answer was essentially no. A lot of schools don't. Social studies isn't tested on, so it's not considered as important as science and reading, as math. So it's kind of, the forgotten, left behind subject that nobody really cares about. So then, I actually asked one of the things I asked was, what was the most interesting thing that you've, done with the kids, lesson that you taught them? And they learned about, in another class, they had read The Diary of Anne Frank. And so, with it, they kind of learned, about the Holocaust, so that was the thing they covered, World War II, and they did, a little dress-up little play of, life at that time. She took them to the museum, and they learned about the history and culture of the Lumbee people, things like that. They talked about things like that. They've traveled to, and they did field trips, and that's things that really engage the students. She said actually once the students, when you make social studies education engaging to the students, they really respond well to it and they enjoy it. They don't think it's stuffy, boring, learn about dead presidents, learn about some war that they weren't around. And they've been covering discussing, and students have had questions about current things that's going on right now with regards to different wars that's been happening with the fighting in Israel, with the Russia-Ukraine fight. And so they still do current events in class, where we did when we were in school, you get in the newspaper or whatever, you look up online, you find a current event, and you write about that current event. So you do things like that and get graded for it. A lot of different things. I mean, we really talked a lot about social studies, and I love social studies. I love hearing about the old presidents, White House, stuff like that. The history, I I love the British history of the UK, like the royal family. Love that history. So I'm really a huge history buff. Like, I love documentaries. I watch the history of the sitcom and the history of comedy and stuff. So I really like went in with the history with her, like, because that's what I want to teach. I want to teach social studies. So I asked her, how would you define social studies? And she said, I'm sorry, I gotta find that part where she said it. Sorry, one second. And so she said, like, I won't find more the exact word she said, but so the definition of social studies really is how society functions, the history and makeup of how society function, government, economics, civics, geography is in social studies. Fun things that they learn in social studies, you can teach your kids about the ancient Egyptians pyramids. If you think dinosaurs are real, I do. That was history. So there's different. So I asked, like, engage in fun ways to, like, teach it, fun things that the kids would be interested in. Because if social studies needs to get tested on, why not teaching fun stuff like that? That's what I said to her. I literally said it. And then I asked, how do you think social studies is impacting the future of our society? And, we talked about how our societies get more complex. We're seeing threats to our democracy in the United States, and teaching our students about social studies, teaching them social studies and how democracy works and why democracy is important. That will help our country and countries around the world. They need to learn these things. If we don't talk about the past, we'll repeat the past. And I asked, what do you think is the most important aspects of social studies? And she said she thinks the most important aspects of social studies is actually learning and understanding about different cultures and how they interact with each other, their customs, their beliefs, their values, why these things are important for them, their religions. And we talked about different ways, like she uses technology in her classroom. For things like assessment, she used different social online platforms, Google Forms, Quizlet. She would create games. She'd find other games that worked well. Edmundo was one. And the class I was with, students, while they were doing breakout groups, while the teacher worked with some, they were at their tables and they were on their laptops and they were on using a platform, and it was teaching them different social studies, like facts. They were doing one, it was different videos, and then you'd have to answer the question, and one was 10 interesting facts about North Carolina. So you're learning about the Wright brothers, the first plane. They learned different fun little facts. It was fun for them. They were learning about battleships. They learned about the history of Pepsi. So different little things like that. And that was one interesting way to learn about it. And that was a platform they used called, I wrote it down in my notes. I don't remember what it's called, but Anyway, it was an interesting platform. Thank you.